A newly emerging assessment suggests that Iran has inflicted billions of dollars worth of damage on American radar infrastructure across the Gulf region, using relatively inexpensive drones and ballistic missiles to target highly advanced detection systems. According to U.S. officials and satellite analysis, these strikes have significantly disrupted early warning capabilities, forcing Washington to urgently redeploy multiple DoD missile defense systems from South Korea to the Middle East in overnight military movements, a sign of growing operational pressure rather than strategic comfort. Reports indicate U.S. forces are struggling to counter continuous drone waves. 4. The loss or degradation of key radar sensors threatens the effectiveness of interconnected missile defense networks, such as Arrow, Patriot, DAD, and Aegis, all of which rely on early detection to function properly. With warning times potentially reduced, some observers claim incoming missiles are arriving with little or no siren alerts, highlighting how critical radar systems are to regional defense. At the start of the conflict on February 28, Iran reportedly focused on disabling early warning infrastructure instead of traditional military targets, including a powerful long-range radar near a major U.S. airbase in Qatar. Det once provided missile detection coverage across thousands of kilometers and supplied tracking data to defensive systems throughout the Gulf and Israel. During the early phase of the conflict, Qatar reported that 2 ballistic missiles were fired toward the country, with one intercepted while the other struck Al Udeid Air Base, a major U.S. military installation. Satellite analysis later suggested that a nearby early warning radar facility, located north of the base, may have sustained damage, though open evidence has not conclusively confirmed its complete destruction. The radar system, valued at roughly $1.1 billion and considered one of the few strategic long-range early warning sensors in the region, plays a crucial role in detecting ballistic missile launches and providing response time for defense networks within about 3 days of the conflict beginning. Satellite imagery also indicated severe damage to another key radar installation, the anti-PY-2 radar deployed at Muwafaq Salti Air Base, which serves as the primary sensor for the U.S. Terminal High-Altitude Area Defense Network. Reports citing U.S. officials and satellite images showed multiple trailers destroyed and blast craters around the site, indicating precision strikes despite the base hosting numerous advanced aircraft. Analysts emphasize that the loss of such a radar significantly weakens a missile defense battery because these systems rely heavily on a single high-power sensor for detection and tracking. With only about 20 of these radars produced over several decades and none kept as spare replacements, the destruction or disabling of even one unit is considered operationally serious. Further satellite observations also suggested possible strikes on radar-related facilities in the United Arab Emirates, where buildings at sites such as Al Ruway and Al Sadr appeared damaged in similar strike patterns, indicating a broader effort to target regional missile defense infrastructure rather than conventional military assets. According to reports from the Ukrainian defense outlet Defense Express, satellite imagery appears to show burned equipment at locations where an ATPY-2 radar systems were believed to be deployed. Although analysts stress that the available images are too low in resolution to confirm whether the radars themselves were present at the time of the strikes, even the potential loss of another unit would carry major consequences, since fewer than 24 of these radars have ever been produced and no reserve inventory is known to exist, meaning a single additional destruction could leave another terminal high-altitude area defense battery significantly weakened or effectively blind, though this remains unverified. Separate satellite observations from early March showed smoke rising near Prince Sultan Air Base, where radar shelter previously identified as housing a THOD sensor had been seen in earlier imagery. Yet officials have neither confirmed damage nor disclosed whether the radar was still on site during the strike. Reports cited by CNN also described Iranian attacks targeting communications terminals, radar installations, and intelligence equipment across several U.S. facilities in Bahrain and Kuwait, suggesting a broader campaign aimed at disrupting American command and control networks rather than solely destroying weapons platforms. With lower value systems, such as the NTPS-59 radar, reportedly affected, Iranian officials claimed multiple radar systems were destroyed across the Gulf, although independent verification remains limited, leaving the confirmed loss of the Jordan-based AN/TPY-2 as the only publicly substantiated case so far. Analysts emphasize that these radars formed a forward detection layer supporting Israel's integrated missile defense network, including Patriot Aegis systems, meaning any degradation reduces early warning time and tracking precision for incoming missiles. Israeli military analyst Ron Ben-Yushai noted that damage to Gulf-based sensors shortens reaction time against launches from Iran, while naval systems can only partially compensate, highlighting how disruptions to regional radar infrastructure could reshape defensive calculations far beyond the Gulf battlefield itself. After returning to India, journalist Praj Mohan Singh claimed that during the conflict, some Iranian missile strikes in Israel occurred without warning sirens, alleging that civilians were killed even inside shelters that authorities had described as secure. While media access to damaged locations was tightly restricted, the Israel Defense Forces did not directly deny reports of radar losses, but acknowledged that Iranian attacks had targeted regional military infrastructure. Wording analysts interpret as deliberately ambiguous rather than a clear rejection of the claims. At the same time, competing narratives from both sides have complicated understanding of the conflict. Iranian statements alleging the sinking of the USS Abraham Lincoln were rejected by United States Central Command, which released images showing normal flight operations. While fact-checkers at PolitiFact2 determined circulating evidence videos originated from the video game Arma 3, separate imagery published by the Tehran Times was later assessed by BBC verifiers, AI-generated and digitally altered from older satellite photos. Meanwhile, the Pentagon has declined to discuss operational details, citing security concerns, even as CENTCOM publicly claimed Iranian missile launches had fallen sharply. Figures analysts say cannot be independently confirmed and may reflect strategic ammunition conservation rather than reduced capability. U.S. officials speaking privately to the Associated Press described continued difficulty intercepting ongoing drone attacks, highlighting contradictions between public messaging and operational realities. Amid confirmed damage to radar infrastructure modes, Washington has reportedly redeployed 6 terminal high-altitude area defense batteries from South Korea to the Middle East, a move first acknowledged by Foreign Minister Cho Tae-jol, signaling a major strategic shift that reduces missile defense coverage in the Pacific at a time of ongoing tensions with North Korea and growing pressure around Taiwan Strait. With only a small number of DoD batteries deployed worldwide and no spare radar units available, the loss or relocation of even one system forces difficult trade-offs between regions. Analysts note that during the June 2025 Iran-Israel conflict, the United States reportedly fired more than 150 jet interceptors, each costing roughly $15.5 million. Illustrating how rapidly modern missile defense resources can be consumed and why the current redeployments reflect a widening strategic strain extending far beyond the Gulf. Global THAAD interceptor stockpile. The current war is described as significantly more intense. Combined with the radar losses, the cost of defense is now approaching an entire year's missile defense procurement budget spent in under 2 weeks,